researching. That's what I do when I'm curious about something. I pick up the books and I start to research. And so I had run out of potassium. Now, I take extra potassium, because a lot of the times I'm not able to afford the fruits and vegetables that I would get that nutrient from, that mineral. So, sometimes I have to kind of cheat. Sometimes I have to kind of cheat and I have to take a supplement. Now, I was taking a supplement that I was purchasing from the dollar store, and they only give you 30, and it only has 99 milligrams in it. But I was finding that I was still dealing with the problems that you have when you have not enough potassium. And so I was kind of thinking, how can I do this? Because, I mean, where I am, the prices for the groceries are going right through the roof. I can't afford the fruits and the vegetables where I would get sufficient amounts of that nutrient. And so I thought, well, okay, I'm going to have to take a supplement. So I went over and I spoke to a pharmacist, because I don't have a family doctor. Just another thing I'm doing without, or a vet. However, anyhow, so I went over to talk to the pharmacist, and he basically warned me to be careful with if you're taking high amounts of potassium and getting it in your diet. Well, I have to take this chance. And I am not getting enough potassium in my diet. As I said, I can't afford the fruits and the vegetables. So I purchased it, and I think it was like $11, but it's 800 milligrams in the tablets that I'm taking. And I just started that about a month ago, okay? So one of the bottles of the potassium that I get from the pharmacist, and you can't buy it just like off the shelves, right? The 800 milligrams that I'm taking. But one of those tablets, or one of those containers full of the potassium, will last me almost 3 months. So there's 3 months worth of potassium in those containers that I buy from the pharmacist. However, before I was purchasing every month because it had 30 tablets in it. And normally you get 30 days in a month, maybe 31, right? And so I was purchasing those ones, but it was only 99 milligrams. And the FDA has basically put a stop on that, where you're only allowed to purchase over the off the shelves 99 milligrams, because they're scared that people are stupid, I guess, and that we will take more than the recommended dosage. And so you have to basically talk to a pharmacist so that you know the repercussions if you do take too much potassium. So I purchased it from the drugstore, from the pharmacist. Now, in this book that I'm reading, it's called Nature's Medicines, and I bought it at a thrift store. It was $1.50? Yeah, $1.50. But it has so much information in it, so much information. And, I'm re-educating myself, because I never paid attention to this. When you're young, you think you have the world right by the zonkers, and so you don't really focus on this stuff. And I never did. I ate what I had. I mean, we were poor. I was poor growing up. I was poor raising my kids, and I'm still poor. And I'm sure I'm going to die poor. Anyhow, so this book is important to me. And so I was reading it, and it says, the first line, okay, if you have a family history of stroke, or have had a stroke yourself, if you have high blood pressure, or need to prevent it, and especially if you take diuretics to control high blood pressure, you'll want to learn all you can about your potassium. It could save your life. Now, when I had the stroke, okay, I've always had, I think, high blood pressure. I've had, high stress in my life. And so, I'm kind of seeing where this is going. I'm kind of seeing that this started way back when I was a young woman, right? Because I wasn't eating properly. But all of those things, I had high blood pressure, I had to control it, I had a stroke, I've had a heart attack. I wish I had known about this before. I think basically in high school or even in grade school that you need to learn these things, that I think it should be an actual class that has to be taught, like science or like math or like English, okay? I think that learning about the supplementation in your body, or the minerals and the nutrients that your body needs to survive, I think that should be like at the very top of the list. It should be a health course that is mandatory for everyone. And I think our healthcare system wouldn't be so overwhelmed. So anyway, they say that potassium is an essential nutrient that's found pretty much everywhere in your body. It's especially concentrated, sorry, I can barely see this, inside your cells. So potassium is inside your cells, okay? So it helps maintain the proper balance of fluid and other electrolytes such as sodium and chloride, which allow a cell to act like a battery. So basically, it's like kickstarting that battery. It's like getting, a jump in the wintertime when your battery dies. It's like getting a jump. So giving that potassium and those electrolytes that the potassium is in, that's basically like jump starting your battery. So that's a good thing to know. And I always find it easier to remember things if I kind of correlate them to something else, to make it into kind of like a story. So you need potassium. Potassium is an electrolyte, and you need it to kickstart that battery because it's found inside the cells, right? I don't know why I'm having a hard time seeing this, but so it says the ability to generate an electrical charge is what lets your cells do the work that they need to do. And so you need that potassium to kickstart them. So the electrical charge also lets cells move and change in and out through their membranes. It activates enzymes involved in chemical reactions, and it maintains proper pH balance in your body, the acid-base balance within your cells. Potassium plays a very basic and very vital role in practically all aspects of cell activity. Now, potassium and sodium are important. They're almost like brothers, right? So potassium does a balancing act with sodium, which is one reason why it's so vital to maintain your proper blood pressure. So you need both sodium and potassium in order to maintain your blood pressure. I'm having such a hard time reading this. It's just, the lighting is so bad. So bad. So during nerve transmission and muscle contraction, potassium and sodium, they briefly trade places, okay, across the cell membrane. So they don't just stay in one place. They kind of, it's a balancing act. It's almost like the sodium will go to one side and the potassium will go to the other, and then they'll trade places, right? Playing like tug of war, but changing places. So there's growing evidence that the more potassium you get in your diet, the less likely you are to develop high blood pressure. And one reason for this probably has to do with the fact that potassium's interaction with sodium, and this is a professor of physiology and biophysics, okay, at the University of Mississippi Medical Center in Jackson, Tennessee, USA, is saying, and he says, the more potassium you get in your diet, the greater your ability to excrete the sodium in your urine. So think of sodium as a water magnet. Maybe I can move this over a little bit. There. We'll try that. You got to try everything once, right? So it says, think of sodium as a water magnet, okay? When you excrete sodium, you're excreting water, he says. And he says excreting water will reduce your blood volume, which in turn reduces your blood pressure. So potassium achieves the same goal as a diuretic. But what do they do? What do the doctors do? They hand you off a diuretic instead of saying, okay, let's up your potassium. Potassium and a diuretic do the exact same thing. You need potassium to get rid of the excess sodium, and you need the sodium to help the potassium to get rid of the excess sodium. So you need the both. It's a fine balancing act. Yeah. So sodium is a water magnet. Wow. And it's true. It's true. I mean, think about it, right? when you get bloated, it's like you're retaining water. Well, more than likely, if you're retaining water, you're eating a diet that's high in sodium and low in potassium. And so usually they'll tell you to up your fiber, and fiber you get from vegetables, which have high levels of potassium in them. And I will guarantee you that most of the seniors that you know are more than likely low in their potassium levels, unless, of course, they have a doctor who's very vigilant. Okay, so potassium also can inhibit the release of a hormone called renin from the kidneys. And renin activates another hormone called angiotensin, which throws the switch on a kind of internal suction pump, right? So it's called renin. The kidneys will release this hormone called renin, and renin activates a hormone called angiotensin. And that angiotensin will switch or activate that switch, will turn on that light switch for the blood vessels to constrict, and your kidneys will start to retain sodium. So both of these actions, okay, they bump up your blood pressure, so they raise your blood pressure. So having low renin in your body, okay, in your levels, is good in terms of lowering your blood pressure. So having lower levels of renin in your body is important, because renin will then activate the angiotensin, which is going to turn on that switch, and it's going to raise your blood pressure. It's like riding on high all the time. It's like, you're revving your motor all the time, and so it's going to overheat, and that's exactly what happens. So I hope I'm kind of like telling you this in kind of like easy to remember terms, right? So you need potassium and sodium. You need them both. So when they tell you to lower your sodium level, you want to be checking with your doctor first, okay? Because you need both, but it's a fine balance. So you don't want to have a diet high in sodium, right? Because if you do have a diet high in sodium, it's going to activate that switch, that angiotensin, okay? That's that switch that's going to turn your blood pressure on full blast, and it's going to, you're going to be riding yourself right to the grave. So the angiotensin is actually like an internal suction pump, right? And so it's going to suck all that sodium. It's going to suck it in. It's going to hold on to it. And that's what it talks about when it talks about perhaps you retaining water, where, basically your angiotensin has, that suction pump has kind of like sucked all that water and is holding on to it. I have to tell you this, when I'm doing this and I'm repeating it, it's basically so I can kind of like internalize it, so I can learn it, so I can understand it, so I can remember it. I mean, think about it. I am 63, right? I am 63, right? So the words that I need to remember are renin and angiotensin, right? Angiotensin is that almost like a suction pump, and the renin is a hormone that is excreted by the kidneys that turns on that switch. So it's like having a water pump, and you have a switch. Well, this is your renin, and your water pump is your suction, right? So the renin is that switch. Flick that switch, and then your body will retain the fluid, because it will act like a suction pump, and it will pull all that sodium in and retain water, because that's what sodium does. It retains water. It's a water magnet. Simple way of trying to remember it. And I've said it 3 times now, so I should remember it. Now think about this, right? I'm not a doctor. I'm not a medical professional. I'm an elderly woman who is trying to battle high blood pressure and cancer and stroke and things like that. And so finding a way to remember this stuff so I know what the hell I'm talking about when I do get a family doctor, it doesn't hurt. It doesn't hurt. Okay, so potassium. Potassium may help with, because they don't want you to say specifically unless it's a doctor. And even when a doctor says it, they shut them down, especially on YouTube, right? So potassium may help with high blood pressure, stroke, leg cramps, and heart arrhythmia. And here is where it gets technical. You're going to have to look this up on your own. Daily value, what you need and you can take daily, okay? Now, they're only selling 100 milligrams off the shelf at the stores, right? 99 milligrams is the safe zone, they said. Take one tablet a day of 99 milligrams. That's not going to do shit unless you're eating the proper fruits and vegetables. And I doubt you can eat that much at one time, okay? So what they're saying the daily value of potassium that you need to take is 3,500 milligrams. Yeah, I take 800 milligrams, but I could very well take 3,500 milligrams. However, I prefer to take the 800 milligrams once a day and then to supplement that with fruits and vegetables if I can. Now, if I can't, I might be tempted to take 2 potassium, but I'm going to be very careful with that. I'm going to be very careful with that because I want to get a blood test done to find out how low my potassium level is, right? So listen to the people that are at risk for low potassium. I need better lighting. People taking diuretics. So when I had the stroke, I was on a high level of diuretic, okay? And when I went on the diuretic, my potassium went low. Okay, so people who are on diuretics such as Lasix, Digitalis, or steroids. Those who don't eat fruits or vegetables, drink heavy amounts of alcohol, have prolonged vomiting or diarrhea, or overuse laxatives, or have eating disorders. Good food sources to get your potassium from: baked potatoes, raw spinach, microwave spinach, or steamed spinach have the highest potassium content. Dried apricots, dried prunes, beans, avocados, watermelon, squash, and bananas. I'm going to have to try squash because almost, I don't know if I like the taste, but I'm going to have to try it because apparently I watch a channel called Roots and Refuge, and they make a lot of meals with squash, and she has some very good recipes. So I'm going to give it a shot one of these days. And I had no idea that it was high content of potassium. So we'll check that out. I really do need a light. I need a light. Okay, so it says cautions and possible side effects. Okay, appears to be safe at any amount in foods. Potassium is safe at any amount in foods, and that's right from this book. Even up to 11,000 milligrams a day. But do not get more than 5,000 milligrams a day from your food and supplementation together without medical supervision. Large doses of supplementations are available only by prescription. Do not take without medical supervision. Excessive potassium can upset the balance of the other minerals in your body and cause potentially dangerous kidney problems or heart problems. So, it's kind of, I'm just falling apart. I need a light. I need a better lighting situation here. So I think that's important to know. I think it's important to know. And some of the foods that you can get it from, I basically eat all of them. I mean, baked potatoes. I love my baked potatoes, and I absolutely love spinach. And I'll tell you something else. When my oldest daughter, when she was in urethro, I craved spinach all the time. When I was a young woman, I had leg cramps, severe leg cramps, all the time. All the time. I would pass out. I had really, really long hair, and my mother would comb my hair, and she used to have to put me on my knees and comb my hair upward, because that's how long my hair was, right? And I would pass out, and that is a sign of low potassium. I used to have severe leg cramps. That's a sign of low potassium. My oldest daughter, when I was pregnant with her, I craved spinach because the fetus was taking my potassium to feed itself, and so of course I was depleted. So these are so important. It's so important to research anything you're putting into your body, or maybe the things that you're missing in your diet or in your system. Okay, so it's just a little bit of information. I mean, it's not like it's going to save the world. I'm not a doctor, I'm not a nurse, I don't even work in the healthcare field anymore. I'm retired, I'm old. I'm past my prime. And so I have to keep that mind working, and I have to research things, and I have to look at what I am missing in my diet and in my life. And that's going to help me heal from the cancer and the stroke and the heart attack that I had. And it's been a long journey. So just be aware and keep yourself educated on what you need in your body to thrive in your life. So I shall see you on the next video. The good Lord be willing.